If there's one certainty in life, it's that humans make mistakes. No one's perfect after all. But it's also true that sometimes those mistakes are much more visible than others. For example, you definitely want to avoid making mistakes if you're in the media. Sure, you can cover up a mistake in a movie, but live TV is going to broadcast these embarrassing moments for all to see, including us.
What did he just say?
Ready to see some of the most embarrassing moments? Let's get it on! There's a real skill to reporting at live sporting events. It's fast-paced, and you need to keep on top of it all while still engaging the audience and giving them the best view possible. But it's also very important to remember to stay out of everyone's way. It seems that's an easier rule to forget than you might think. In fairness to this presenter though, that flip looks like it's the best action the audience is going to see that day, so at least he's giving the people what they want. Well, he definitely learned his lesson. He won't be making that mistake again anytime soon. He's lucky his leg is still attached to allow him to walk it off.
And here comes Alex. That was a bad idea.
Have you ever seen something happen that seems so bizarre you're sure it could only happen as the result of some kind of magic? After all, people aren't that crazy. Except maybe pool players. This guy quickly claims that speaking English is no problem for him, but I have to say, I'm beginning to think that was a lie.
No program, every time happy.
Or maybe he's misunderstood the way the language works.
I have a pen. I have a oi. Hey, apple pen.
You can't just use any word you feel like. They actually have different meanings. Let's just hope he's shouting out every English word he knows and it's not some kind of voodoo, because that's not a bad explanation for this kind of crazy.
Thank you. Go. Go home. Go home. Go home.
To some people, their graduation is one of the biggest days of their lives, and that's justified. You worked really hard to get there. Stressed, lived with sleepless nights, and thought you wouldn't make it, but you did. Congratulations! Just one last thing. Celebrating is all well and good, but if you're going to do it on the stage in front of everyone, make sure you actually can do a backflip. And if you're not sure, make very sure they're not filming it, because it will end up on the internet forever.
You embarrassed yourself. I'm gonna give you a chance, man.
I'm sure presenting a live sports event isn't as easy as it looks. You have to be sure of all the facts, be ready for anything, not trip over your words. It's a lot to remember, but there's probably one more thing this team needs to add to that list. Remembering where the sprinklers are. The slow approach of the surprisingly strong sprinkler is mesmerizing, and the payoff was perfect. That poor presenter really gets hit hard. Then just when you think it's all over, it comes back. He really should have thought to duck underneath it before it nearly drowned him, but oh well, they can be thankful it didn't hit the camera.
Красота. Ну вот, все равно продолжая свой эфир. В общем, сложно будет ЦСКА.
The saying goes, never work with children or animals. That's like rule number one in the film industry. And there's a reason for that. They're unpredictable, and that can ruin everything. But if you're going to give it a go anyway, it's important that you know how to keep your cool if something goes slightly awry. This guy did the opposite. He seems so calm until the rooster flaps its wings, and suddenly it's absolute carnage, and he's screaming like a child who's just seen a ghost. Why he doesn't just let it go is unclear, but at least he finally worked out he could just put it down on the floor. He might even have been able to keep his dignity if he hadn't run away screaming with his arms in the air like a cartoon character. There's nothing quite like competing in professional sports on live TV. It's a whole different ballgame. There's the pressure of people watching, the pressure of wanting to win, the worry that you've wasted your life practicing when you're not good enough. You know, that kind of terror. You really don't want to mess up, not even a little stumble like this. And definitely not a total wipeout like this. Yep, she just catches her foot coming over the hurdle, stumbles and falls straight through 2 more hurdles. She seems like she's laughing after, and what else can she do really? She's probably happy her face is still attached to her head after that. There's a reason why irony has endured as a popular form of comedy for centuries. But it's not just people who love it. The universe is always looking for moments to laugh at people. This reporter's asking for trouble by covering this storm. She's in the middle of telling people not to leave the house, not to make unnecessary journeys, and talking about how stupid people are for getting in the sea.
And don't swim in the sea.
Okay, I'm paraphrasing a bit, but that was the gist of it. So what do you think is going to happen to someone talking about how dumb you must be to go out into the storm while standing out in the storm themselves? Well, it looks like the universe really wanted her to stop. When you're doing live TV, it's tempting to get a bit carried away. After all, you're trying hard to keep your audience entertained. But really, it's always best to stick to the plan, because the moment you start doing things you haven't practiced, you open up a world of possibility where all kinds of things can go wrong. For example, a simple cooking segment shouldn't be too hard, but if, like this woman, you clearly aren't very good at keeping things in a pan, you shouldn't try to flip them like a professional chef. Then again, what could possibly go wrong? It's just a laugh, right? Well, you might just set the whole set on fire. And good luck putting that fire out when it's on the bottom of your pan. There's a lot of wood in that room. Elon Musk is a new kind of superstar. It's like he has the world just waiting to see what he'll do next, so it's no surprise he'd hold a big event to demonstrate his new Tesla Cybertruck. He wanted to show off all the amazing innovations, of course, and usually that's very impressive, but his lucky streak had to end somewhere, and apparently it ended at the armor glass. This demonstration was meant to display just how bulletproof the glass was in a spectacular display where the steel ball will bounce off the glass without leaving a scratch. But instead, this happened.
Oh my God.
Well, that's embarrassing. For anyone not interested in politics, watching the news can be about as fun as pulling teeth. It has a depressing tone, and everyone talks in a way that makes you feel stupid. But it would have been worth watching the news for years just to see this moment. This professor discussing South Korea on the BBC had to really quickly learn how to keep his composure when his child came sauntering in with more attitude than any of us could even wish to have. It was then closely followed by a baby that can't even walk yet but still managed to find a way to ruin Dad's serious interview. But the icing on the cake was the person who was meant to be looking after them, obviously trying to duck down behind the desk when herding the kids. It's perfect in every way.
Pardon me. My apologies.
What was your worst first day in a new job? Loads of people have horror stories about their first day. It's easy to mess up when you're trying to impress, especially when you're a new PA on a big TV show. He only had one job, just wheel out the new TV so the audience can see it. That's simple enough, right? Well, maybe not. The best bit is all the effort he goes to pull the wheelie display table back upright, but then he just runs away, leaving the actual brand new TV smashed on the floor. He's very lucky Ellen had a sense of humor. That's not a traditional way to impress your new boss. If there's one comedy staple that just never gets old, it's people falling over. Is it simple-minded? Maybe, but that doesn't make it any less hilarious. Sometimes there's beauty in that type of simplicity. So, if you're too much of a prude to enjoy that kind of humor, you can leave now. But the rest of us are going to enjoy ourselves a bit. For your viewing pleasure, here's Ryan Seacrest making an ill-fated attempt to catch a big gold ball. Isn't that just perfect in every way? Remember, folks, we know it's hard, but don't try to catch shiny things while sitting on a high chair, or you'll end up like him.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Oh my God.
Let's face it, most daytime television is wrong in so many ways, but daytime news is often the worst. But apparently, nobody does it like the Australians. This interview starts going wrong right from the very start, when everything is mistimed and both people on screen just end up laughing at themselves for way too long. They're trying to catch a shark in a lake, even though everyone's pretty sure there's no shark in the lake. Basically, it's the low-budget Australian version of the Loch Ness Monster. The presenter at the lake casts his fishing rod to catch the shark, but accidentally catches a poor unsuspecting duck instead, then insists on reeling in the panicked duck while the presenter in the studio repeatedly screams, "Stop now!"
Hey guys, stop now, stop now, stop now, stop now, stop now. That's enough.
It really couldn't have gone any worse, not even if the shark had eaten the presenter. Ever get the feeling that technology's out to get you? Like maybe your phone inexplicably decides to call your ex, or your computer crashes just as you're finishing up that big paper that's due tomorrow. What about when you're trying to demonstrate your new fancy Face ID to the entire world at a packed theater and the phone insists you need to type in your passcode instead?
Let's go to backup.
Don't you just hate that? Yeah, I don't know about you, but I came away from that thinking I'd rather pass on unsuccessfully showing my face to the phone before just having to type in the code anyway.
Ho ho ho.
There are lots of things to remember when doing live TV. Those things are, of course, different depending on whether you're in front of the camera or behind it. But the one rule that holds true is don't kill the celebrity. That's vital. Also, definitely don't drive your Segway into Usain Bolt's legs. This guy's biggest mistake though, he checks his camera before checking if he's destroyed the career of the fastest man on earth. That's the sign of a man who doesn't have his priorities straight. He obviously didn't realize that if Bolt hadn't stood up again, that crowd would have been on him like a tornado. The camera's just not worth it.